Jared has a question.
A question for you guys. Maybe you might know this as well, Pat. There's a theory that they're going to double JSN and put Gonzalez on
Shaheed
or Cup. If they do that, who would be like the 3 pass catchers that you would go for? Would it be like Kenneth Walker, Arroyo, Shaheed, or like somebody else?
I mean, Barner probably is going to run more routes than Arroyo for sure. So they're not going to put. I don't think. I'd be very surprised if they move Gonzalez to the slot, because then that forces Marcus Jones to the outside, and that's a real. It's not a good setup for him. He's like 5'7". He's a dog, but he's just not built for perimeter coverage. So I don't think that you see Gonzalez chase. They're like 78% side, but I do think in this situation they will. When you get JSN on the perimeter, they'll give him Gonzalez, but he's not going to go to the slot with him, I don't think.
I think one of the problems with that theory is just Kubiak and the Seahawks are so smart about the way they use like pre-snap motion and different things where if that is the Patriots game plan, like Kubiak's going to find ways to take advantage of that and get somebody wide open. It might be JSN and it might be someone else, just because like I've learned so much more this season probably than any other about how like defensive coverage works, and so much of offensive football is understanding the rules that the defenders play with. So like if this guy does this, then I do that. If this guy does that, then I do this. And nobody understands those rules better than like Shanahan and Kubiak and understanding how to use those rules against the defense. And so I would think if the Patriots try something like that, that's actually working into Kubiak's hands.
Shit. That was way more insightful than I thought it was going to be. Great.
Pat Mayo Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, the Super Bowl 60 prop draft. 3 rounds, 4 people, 1 computer, and we'll try to make a same game parlay at the end. How does that sound to you? If you got a prop that you like, dump it in the comment section right now. Smash like and sub to the channel while you are here. I'll tell you in a sec why subbing to Mayo Media Network can be very profitable for you. So do it now. Find out why later. Could be cash in your account, okay? Alex Blickle from FTN Fantasy.com is here with us, as are, as always, Ryan Noonan and Connor Allen. And the Sharp Stack computer is waiting in the wings to make some picks. Noonan, you're dressed like a funeral. You know the Patriots are going to lose, don't you?
This is insane. It's just, it's black sweatshirt, slimming, Pat. It's comfortable. It's clean. Patriots are not going to lose. We could save that because I think some of the exotics, I guess I would say that I have, don't fit really the parameters of what we typically do here in terms of building underdog slips or not. But I talked to you before. I think I went from like fandom, hey, we're going to win, us against the world, all the crap that we had to deal with in the middle of Rams Seahawks, of everyone and their brother being like, oh, this is the Super Bowl, and why are we even going to play the game? And the more I got in the weeds, I actually feel like the Patriots are going to win the game. So I'm pretty excited about it. Let's get it here.
Connor, I checked out your gigantic write-up. Very good article, by the way. I'm going to steal it and just post it in my newsletter and pretend that I wrote
it. Feel free, yeah. No credit needed. It's not like, credit isn't a common thing anyways, like anymore in the media industry. So, feel free to rip the whole thing. And, the more people that are educated, the better. Although, yeah, I would say it went pretty well. It's like the only thing that I write pretty much now every year. I'll do like a weekly prop article, but that's kind of like basically copying and pasting my plays. But this one actually, it's a labor of love. I actually put a little more time and thought and effort into it.
Blickle, what do you got going on over at FTN Fantasy this week in making picks and making projections?
Yeah, I mean, it's actually like one of the easier work weeks, just because number one, we had 2 weeks to get everything prepared and all the, the projection models prepared. But then also we're only projecting 1 game, and it's just showdown ownership instead of ownership for an entire main slate. So actually one of the easier work weeks on my end, but it's just exciting. And I think the really fun thing is like you get a wider array of prop types that you can bet on this week. And so like one of mine this week is something I've never bet before, and I think it's really strong. So excited to talk through all this.
Well, let's go through game predictions right now. On the Best Bet Show with Rob and Cam, my silver pick was Seahawks minus 11.5. I'm going 33-17 as my final for Seattle. Are you just going to inverse that score, Noonan, and make it for the Patriots?
What are you talking about? Minus 11.5?
Yeah. I think if Seattle wins, they're going to win by a lot. I think if it's a close game, they lose.
I think that's probably fair. Yeah, I mean, I don't agree, but I can understand why I guess why that would be there. But yeah, yeah, Pat's
Pat,
minus what? Pat's minus 6.5. I don't even know what the price is, but there's some other ways to do it too. Pat's money line, Drake May 250 plus and over 1.5 touchdowns, like 8-1. Love
Well,
that.
give me a score prediction.
Score prediction, I will go with Patriots 24, Seahawks 17.
24-17. I mean, that's the kind of game I think that they win 2017, 17-14, something like that. Connor, what do you got?
I had Seahawks 2017, but I don't really feel good about it. I mean, I think that there's like real outcomes where Sam Darnold just like, sucks and the Patriots win by a good bit. But also if he plays like he did in the NFC Championship game, they're going to win by 20. So, I think both outcomes are very honestly possible. So I've just been attacking props and like all these random niche markets. I probably will have a bet on Patriots money line just because I think the line's a little high, but that's more of just like a fun bet, to be honest.
Do me a favor, Connor. Turn down your microphone a little bit. You're the loudest man on earth right now.
Am I yelling?
It sounds like you're yelling. I don't know if you are or not, but that's the projection that I'm getting right now. Blickle, what do you got for a game prediction?
I'll go 20-13 Seattle. I think I'm on the lower scoring side for sure. Both of these defenses are really good at preventing explosives. So I think we could just see more of a defensive struggle than we all want to see, right? We all want to see a lot of scoring, but what were the odds that you got on that minus 11.5?
Plus 220.
Okay.
Not enough for you, probably. It's enough for me.
Not quite enough. I was guessing it was going to be around plus 300, and then I was going to be pretty intrigued by it.
No, they're not going to let you off the hook that easy on a Super Bowl. They'll take their juice where they can take it. The prop draft round 1 coming into this, the Sharp Stack computer will draw the overall first pick right now. And if you want to get in on Sharp Stack, go to 4for4.com/Mayo. And just a reminder, if you put in Mayo 10 right now, it gets users 10% or 10, it gets you a $10 Sharp Stack for the month. And that gives you access to all the DFS tools, the optimizer, the projections, plus an entire month to get on any sport that you want to. It's only $10, 4for4.com/Mayo. The computer, Blickle, is spitting out Kenneth Walker under 2.5 receptions at plus 125 as its best, most valuable prop on the board right now. What do you think?
I think that's pretty good. Again, like I very much almost always favor unders, but especially in this one, and we have Seattle projected for pretty low play volume as a whole. So like the Seattle unders, I think especially are pretty intriguing. So I'm in with you on this one.
Noonan?
Yeah, I mean, it's I like getting the plus money for sure. I mean, I think he's obviously going to be a little bit more involved than I expect New England to get a lot of pressure, so the dump offs make a lot of sense. But again, I would probably lean under if we were at minus 110 and we're at plus 125. So I think it's a good look.
Well, you two have posted an article this week about your tackle props. That's been the bread and butter. That's what you're becoming known for, these tackle props, because they keep winning. Is a tackle prop your first round pick?
So I want to stay in that lane because we kind of nuked the market by releasing the tackle place. And that's kind of what we do. And that's, downside of it. I know listeners this season have had a lot of success tailing. Official plays hit at like 64% this year, which is a pretty sustainable rate, and enjoy doing it. So I'm going to stay in the niche, but I'm going to kind of pivot a little bit. I went on looking at Underdog and I want to see what was available in kind of the defensive market. You can either find this at sportsbooks in Patriots sacks, or on Underdog, they have actually Darnold sacks taken. I'm going to go over 2.5 sacks taken for Sam Darnold. Really interested to see kind of the chess match early in terms of like blitz rate for New England, 2 high, 1 high, and kind of how they approach it. Either way, significant individual matchup here. There are 147 offensive linemen that played at least 50% of their team's snaps this year. Anthony Bradford, right guard for Seattle, ranks 145th out of the 147 in PFF's pass block win rate this season. It's a huge mismatch, specifically for Milton Williams and Christian Barmore on the inside. I think that's going to be a problem for Sam Darnold here. I think he's going to take some sacks. Again, that could be stunts. So in terms of having to like pinpoint the guy on the Patriots side that comes down with, a sack or two, I like Milton Williams. It's available like plus 194 on FanDuel to get a sack, which is over a quarter of a sack. So you don't have to worry about shared sack or anything. But just in general, I think we see Darnold go down at least 3 times here, and this is available on Underdog. So Darnold over 2.5 sacks taken.
Blickle, I like this one a lot. It's funny because I ended up going the other route, not so much Sam Darnold taking sacks, but I had both looks of Darnold over 2.5 rushing attempts, then Darnold over 5.5 rushing yards. Because if they don't get him, I do think that there's going to be ample room for him to take off.
That's possible. I actually had this one as well, but for the under. So
okay,
yeah, really interesting start
to
the show.
Lock in a winner here. Is this your first round pick?
I'll make it my first round pick. Sure. So he was under this in 12 of 17 games, 13 of 19, if you include the playoffs. But the big thing for me is I just think the New England pass rush right now is a little bit overrated. Sorry, man.
No, we're good.
But they played Herbert, Stroud, and then Stidham in the playoffs. And so obviously like people are, have those 3 games fresh in their memory. They were getting pressure a ton. They were also blitzing a ton, 55 blitzes in 3 games as charted over by us at FTN Fantasy. So are they going to blitz Darnold as often? Maybe, but I think, Darnold and Kubiak certainly have a better plan in place for the blitzes than what the New England has faced so far in the playoffs. But the key for me in the regular season, they were 21st in sack rate despite playing a pretty weak schedule, and they were 25th in pressure rate, again, as charted by us over at FTN Fantasy. So, again, I just think it's a little bit of an overrated pass rush right now. It is a very strong defense, but I think the strength of their defense is stopping the run and stopping explosive plays. So I don't think it's about getting pressure. And, as I mentioned, like I don't expect a ton of play volume for the Seattle offense. They're not a high pass volume team anyway. So I just don't see a ton of sack opportunities, and that's why I actually lean under here. But I'm definitely less confident now that I'm going against you guys.
So this has been a conversation that's come up throughout the week: is how legitimate is this current iteration of the Patriots pass rush? Is it that they played 2 horrible offensive lines and then played Stidham? But Noonan, the Broncos' offensive line generally very good. It was surprising to see them give up so much pressure, but terrible conditions, Stidham at quarterback, maybe a bit of a different scenario. I don't really know how to interpret that, but if you look at it, if they can generate even like a 38% pressure rate here, it's going to be Darnold going down, Darnold throwing the helmets, or Darnold taking off. Like, pick your outcome.
I do agree with Blickle here on the plays of the game. I actually, if you can find, like, I've seen 126.5 total plays in the game. Like, my projections are way below that. I don't know what Alex's number is on that, but I think I had like 121.5 for the game. So I think 126.5 is a great play. So I understand just, breaking down, if you think that the Seahawks are going to be in a advantageous game script, they are a pretty conservative team from a drop back standpoint in general. So that, it is a little thinner in terms of just raw drop back numbers. I think schematically, there are some matchups they could take advantage of, and look, a lot's made of the Milton Williams on-off splits, really typically through the lens of how impactful he's been as a run stopper. He was awesome in that game against Denver, against a really good offensive line. 8 pressures, 3 were quick pressures, according to Next Gen Stats. That's sub 2.5 seconds. That's the specific matchup against Anthony Bradford that we're targeting here. So I think there's just a lot of reasons why there could be just problems where it's Sam Darnold. He's, I think turnover-worthy plays. He's like top 5 rate. So, I was back and forth between, the interception line or even over 1.5 reception or interceptions is like 3-1. I just think they're going to be able to get a decent amount of pressure. Individually, it's not a great pass rushing group. But I think from the totality and the scheme, like the blitz rate thing is pretty significant. Like they've really ramped up since week 9 with their blitz rate. They were like 27th in blitz rate across the league and still, pretty middle of the pack in terms of pressure rate. But they've been like one of the blitz heavy teams in the league since the halfway point of the season. So I think they're going to find some ways to complicate things for Darnold. Just getting him off his first read, getting him off of JSN by bringing pressure, I think is kind of be their best path here to turn him over and to get home at 2.5.
Okay. Well, I now I have a decision of which one I want to put on our underdog entry by the end. Connor's gold pick was the same as my gold pick, our first round draft pick. We were discussing it, so I kicked him off the show. He's gone. We will never see Connor again. You can find him at betsperts.com. You can find him at 4for4.com. Connor Allen on X. He has the big article up there. I probably will. Noonan, I was thinking about taking Connor's article and your article and like giving you guys the credit in my newsletter when I put this out this week.
Yeah, go for it. Why not? We're family.
There we go. And you can sub to that newsletter for free down in the description. If you sub to the channel, sub to the newsletter, both completely free to do, as our subscribing, rating, and reviewing 5 stars on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you get into a draw for $250 to be given out on Friday afternoon. So you may as well go do that in case you want extra money to go bet on the game. I am taking Blickle, Kenneth Walker under 74.5 rushing yards in the spot. I just don't see a lot of successful running from either side in this game, and I think that number is just way too high. You could even do the reverse correlation, like under 17.5 rushing or over 17.5 rushing attempts, under 74.5 rushing yards, or just take the under on longest rush. It's terrifying with someone like Kenneth Walker, who you know has that big playability, but just don't see him getting it going against the Patriots.
Yeah, I agree. I like this again, and it's basically like the same argument, right? It's if they don't have a lot of play volume, a lot of rushing success, especially yardage totals, depends on actually having that volume.
And this is where I see, Noonan, that if neither team can rush all that much, because I gave out Diggs as my gold pick over receptions, but I can see Diggs, Kupp, Barner, all of these like low ADOT type players really piling up a ton of quick receptions in this game.
Yeah, that's fair. We released the Kenneth Walker rushing at 80.5. I want to say maybe Tuesday or Wednesday last week when it became widely available. So fine with it still where it is right now. I think there's some like really interesting, again, this is tough because like the Super Bowl is so unique, right? You like have to dig into these like one-off markets. I saw on DraftKings has like race to 80 yards rushing. No player is plus 128, which I think is a fantastic look. Basically, no one's getting to 80 rushing yards. If you want to get a little bit more squirrely, race to 60, no player is like plus 520. So it's obviously a little bit more thin, but I don't like, we're kind of flirting with that by being short on the Kenneth Walker number, who's obviously comfortably, the highest projected player here. So I don't think we're going to get that necessarily from Ramondre. We're not seeing much at all from Travion these days. And you're looking at like, double the Drake May number, I guess you would say. So I think those are probably, pretty interesting, alternatives to kind of shorting Kenneth Walker.
What do you guys make of Travion Henderson in this game? Because Cam really liked his over of 24.5 rushing and receiving, that he's exactly the type of player when all else is failing that you start trying to get the ball into the hands of. And it only takes him one juke and he's gone, Alex. But he isn't getting on the field. Do you think, especially in the Denver game, that was we're giving it to Ramondre to run up the gut and we're sticking Ramondre next to Drake because he can pass protect? In this game, if they fall behind, maybe we see some more Henderson?
I think it's maybe less about game script, and I think it's more about just like, do they see a potential weakness in Seattle where they can get Henderson the ball in space and actually see that kind of dynamic explosiveness show up a little bit more. And it's also an instance of, you get 2 weeks to game plan 5 to 6 touches for him, where all 5 to 6 are, very meaningful and purposeful. And again, you're trying to get him in space and give him those opportunities. Whereas when you only had a week to game plan, it was more just, we've got to run the plays that we run. And when we want Stevenson out there to execute those plays. So I do think there's a chance that he's going to be more involved than he was 2 weeks ago. But there's also like a very clear chance that he's just not part of the offense anymore.
Noonan, you sweating Spillane's injury at all? He didn't practice on Wednesday.
Loki would love Spillane to not play.
Why?
For a couple of reasons, mostly for my bank account. So I like Robert Spillane. He's a really good player. I think he is a significantly better run-stopping linebacker than he is in coverage. I think he's actually a little bit of a liability in coverage. And the dynamic of actually Jack Gibbons and Christian Ellis as coverage linebackers is a little bit more appealing to me. They're just better athletes. There's also a single, and again, I wish this was more widely available. And again, it's really hard to find these treasure trove things in other books. Right now, Bet365 has most tackles in the game posted. They have Jack Gibbons at 33-1. Jack Gibbons will be the green dot every down linebacker for the Patriots if Robert Spillane is out of this game. He will then comfortably move into, depending on what I would project him for snaps, either the most tackles in the game or right behind Ernest Jones on the Seahawks. So 33-1 to lead the game in tackles when you have a chance to be a 90% snap guy. I would probably comfortably project him between like 85, probably like 88 or so, based off of where he's been in those scenarios with, Spillane out in the last month or so. That's a pretty hot bet. Would be my favorite bet on the board for sure. At 33-1, I would comfortably, if we can get 20 there, at more widely available higher limit books, that'd be fantastic. So I don't know if that's going to be everywhere, but that would be that's kind of my Spillane thing now. Again, he's been great, but I don't think he's like a huge difference maker for them. So,
and most tackles and assists, 33-1. It's right there.
It's a great bet.
Yeah.
And again, obviously, there's risk to it because he becomes a 30% snap guy if Spillane's in the game, right? You're kind of dead. But like again, lower play volume. We're just introducing more variants to begin with. Ernest Jones significantly better from a efficiency standpoint against the run than the pass. We're expecting New England to probably be a little bit more pass happy, whereas a guy like Gibbons is probably equally efficient and again pretty good athlete. So I would like that bet quite a bit if we can get no Spillane. I don't know if he's going to play. And again, we're dealing with an ankle and a re-aggravation of an ankle that cost him a month. So like it's not great in terms of his status here. So. Look for the Gibbons line if you can get it. If you have 365, it has not moved.
Blickle, are you sweating either of the quarterback injuries?
Not really. I think especially with Darnold, like we've already seen the way he plays when the concern was at its highest, and he didn't seem very affected by it at all. And then I kind of expect the same for May, especially when you have this much time off. The adrenaline in the Super Bowl just doesn't really affect guys. Terrell Owens looked like perfectly healthy when he was playing on a literal broken leg. So
yeah,
he was out for 10 weeks before that.
Yeah, but it was still broken.
I suppose that's true. And I guess you got safety problems on the Seattle side. If you have a nominee for Defensive Rookie of the Year and you take that guy out of the game, Noonan, that could be somewhat problematic to your good defense.
He allows them to do a lot of different looks. Nick Emenwari is, even when I was writing up my tackle articles, it's really hard for me to put him at a position because he's really, he's essentially a safety, but he plays a little bit in the slot. But they also just play dime with him as linebacker 2 next to Ernest Jones. They'll move Witherspoon in the slot. They bring Reek Woolen to play opposite of Josh Jobe. So he's really just kind of a hybrid. I don't know, kind of like he's a linebacker in a lot of ways. So he's dynamic. They'll bring him off of the edge to blitz, kind of like a Kyle Hamilton with Baltimore. He kind of just does a little bit of everything, which is exactly what Mike McDonald wanted when he drafted him, and he's fantastic at doing so. Obviously a freak athlete. So, he would be an impactful piece in terms of his ability to cover tight ends. He's a great run stopper. So, that injury news is not insignificant. We'll have to see what happens here in the next 72 hours or so.
Alex, if he's out, would you start giving some consideration to Hunter Henry and or Austin Hooper in the first touchdown or anytime touchdown market?
Yeah, and Seattle's if they have a vulnerability defensively, it has been to tight ends for a lot of the season anyway. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't mind that look at all. Yeah,
we'll also look at Julian Love tackles in a scenario where Emenwari is out. It doesn't change the snap rate for Julian Love. It will change his alignment. He will probably play significantly more in the box, and over 4.5 will be a nice look.
Here's the thing. Endurance athletes never talk about this, but heavy lifting and training can quietly wreck sexual performance. Long cardio, high cholesterol, bad sleep, under recovery, it all hits the same systems that control blood flow and hormones, and when circulation drops, performance drops everywhere. Most guys reach for stimulants or prescriptions, but that's a blunt fix way downstream. Nitric oxide is the master switch for blood flow, endurance, and longevity. Once you understand that, joy mode makes total sense. If you want to support sexual performance the same way you should support training and recovery naturally and intelligently, Joy Mode has got a deal for my listeners. Go to tryjoymode.com/mayo or enter mayo at checkout for 20% off. Joy Mode, the electrolyte packet for your dick. Underdog's expanding the game. You already know their player picks. Pick higher or lower on player stats. Today, Underdog prediction markets are live in 25 states. Back your squad with spreads, handicap for closer game, or totals, higher, lower combined score, combined with player picks for bigger payouts. New customers play $5 on fantasy, get $75 in fantasy bonus entries. Code Mayo. Team picks, player picks, all on Underdog. Cash App just released a new status program for the way that people actually spend Cash App Green. It unlocks new ways for you to pay, get rewarded, and easily grow or manage your money on your terms. Now, when you spend at least $500 a month with the Cash App or Cash App Pay, you earn green status, which unlocks benefits like up to $200 of free overdraft coverage, higher borrow limits, and custom personalized cashback offers every Friday at places you love to shop. Turn everyday spending into status with Cash App Green. Download Cash App today or visit cash.app/new to learn more about this and other great features launching now. For a limited time, new Cash App customers can earn $10 if they use code CASHAPP10 in their profile at signup and send $5 to a friend within 14 days. Cash App is a financial services platform, not a bank. Banking services provided by Cash App's bank partners. Prepaid debit cards issued by Sutton Bank. Member FDIC. Cash App Green overdraft coverage, borrow, cashback offers, and promotions provided by Cash App, a Block Inc. brand. Visit cash.app/legal/podcast for full disclosures. You hit me up with some props earlier on in the week for the tackle, so that was very kind of you, Noonan, and I made it into a boosted pack over at Underdog. So code Mayo at Underdog right now. Play a $5 pick'em entry, get $75 in bonus funds. You get a free pick for the game. Why not have a free pick? It's an instant winner. You can throw it onto one of these if you want to, but I have my Kenneth Walker under 74.5 rushing yards, Diggs over 4.5 receptions. Then you gave me Anthony Jenkins higher than 2.5 tackles and assists.
Jennings.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
These are real people.
No, everyone who plays defense in football is a creative player. I'm convinced of it.
Yeah, he's a really good run-stopping defensive end and is seeing his snap rate go up, and then it will spike if you either have no Harold Landry or a limited Harold Landry. So, yeah, I like Anthony Jennings quite a bit.
And then Jaron Reed under 2.5 tackles and assists.
Yeah, they rotate a solid 7-8 guys along the defensive line. He's just not going to play that much. I wish that was widely available. It's just kind of 365, MGM, and Underdog. So it kind of worked for you. It popped in the projections. So not on FanDuel, not Caesars, not at book, any of the other offshores we like to bet on.
So if you want the direct link to that, you can find it on my X account at the PME right now, and it will be in the Super Bowl cheat sheet that comes out if you're looking for the direct link to the PME boosted pack on Underdog. And if you don't have an Underdog account, you click that link, you'll get code Mayo in it anyway when you go sign up. So I highly recommend that you do that right now. Round number 2, even though we've kicked Connor off the show, I'm going to give him a silver pick, a round 2 pick here, because he did give us one to talk about. And it was... what did I say? It was 207. Was it the 217? Yeah, the 217.5 Blickle under rushing yards for the entire game. Seems like a great number.
Yeah, let me see if I can figure out very quickly what we have. We're definitely under that. I'm not going to add it all up on the fly here, but we're probably around 205-ish. It looks like. So I like this one a lot.
It just where does this come from? Like, game this out for me of this hitting the over. Noonan, is it one of these explosive plays, like a Kenneth Walker 55-yard run, and then you're cooked?
Yeah, it's like Travion takes one of his 2 to 3 carries and, busts a big one. Drake May goes berserk and Kenneth Walker goes over. Like, that's kind of where I think it would go. You can find a 230.5 on MGM. But yeah, this is a 217.5 is still a great look.
I was going to say that exact same thing. I think, the explosives from Walker are obvious and same from the Patriots, but I think like the real X factor here would be Drake Mays scrambling.
Yeah. What do you guys make of Mays scrambling? Pizzola was big on the under 6.5 rushing attempts.
I mean, I don't have an attempt number per se. I would probably lean under. It was one of my first releases. We released 30.5 last week. Seattle actually is giving up. They've faced the highest rate of scrambles on the season per the FTN data. So shout out to Blickle and the team there. So it's, they're not taking a ton of volume. And again, we expect play volume to be a little bit light, but it's been a weapon. And again, he's kind of calling his own number there last week too in Denver. It's really encouraging to see. They're going to get pressure. Seattle's going to get pressure in May. Is obviously not afraid to tuck and run. So, breaking a couple of, say, 12 to 13 yarders doesn't have to necessarily have volume and say he gets to 7 or 8. I don't think we're going to see that, but I think you see a couple of explosives.
My second round pick in the prop draft is going to be Cooper Kupp over 29.5 rushing yards. Again, Blickle playing to my theory, ball out quickly, get pressure. And I think that Gonzalez can do enough of a job on JSN when they're lined up together that it'll just have Kupp reading there once and then turning and firing to whoever's just open 5 yards in front of him. I think that's going to be Cooper Kupp.
It also has seemed a little bit in the postseason like there's a trust factor in Kupp that in the regular season was like, we can do whatever we want, so we'll just throw it to whoever's open. And here in the playoffs, it's like, okay, now that every single snap, every single pass matters just a little bit more, we're going to go to the guy that we know knows how to get it done in pressure situations. So I do think there's a narrative that can actually be put in play here with Kupp, and we've got him at 31.8, so definitely over that line, but I don't think our number would say that it's a great play, but I think we're probably a little bit light on his receiving yards at the moment.
How do you adjust to that based on what you see? You know that the difference in a game like the Super Bowl versus something else would be so much bigger that when you have Kupp and the projection is right around the number, but you have this personal influence that you think it could be higher than that because on the expectations of the game, how do you manage that when you start seeing the data?
Yeah, it's a little tough. I think the best thing I can say here is there should always be an understanding of if the projection is wrong, in which direction is it most likely to be wrong? And there isn't really any reason why Kupp would be less involved in this game. There are multiple reasons why he might be more involved than usual in this game. So to me, it's like just when I look at our projected target share, our projected efficiency for him, if they're wrong, they're more likely to be wrong, hurting Kupp's projection. And so the over is a little bit more likely than what our numbers would suggest.
What do you have as your second round pick in the prop draft?
It correlates really well with what you've already talked about with Diggs, saying that you think he's going to get a lot of short targets. It's under 17.5 longest reception for Stephon Diggs. His longest in the playoffs so far is 14. He only has that one over 10 yards. And the key for me is his average depth of target has come down by almost 2.5 yards from the regular season to just 6.0. It was 2.0 last game. Now, that was obviously related to the conditions, but it was crazy, crazy low even before the snow showed up. And I think it was a clear, effect of having Booty and Hollins both healthy and on the outside. And those guys were running the downfield routes. And actually you get Hunter Henry running a lot of the downfield routes as well. And then whenever Demario Douglas is on the field, like he got a deep target. And then Diggs is the underneath guy. It's just when we need a completion, you're the guy we're going to. And so I think we'll continue to see that. And obviously Seattle has been outstanding at preventing explosives as well. So under 17.5 longest reception for Steph Diggs.
This one I don't really like, and it's out of our jurisdiction in terms of odds, so I'm glad that we can get around that. It's funny that one of them is on Sharp Stack right now is Ramondre Stevenson under 3.5 receptions at -155. We don't do -155s around here. What we do is keeping it, even money or better, -110, -120 or better. It's funny because it is Ramondre Stevenson. It is a receiving prop, but it is his over of 21.5 receiving yards. This makes a ton of sense, especially if they're in catch-up mode and you don't think that they just revert back to Henderson. They're going to want pass protection. With the worse the offensive line has got over the past 2 months for the Patriots, Blickle, that the more we've seen of Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah, it's absolutely true. And the weird thing has been like, he's been explosive in the passing game as well. And now one of those against, I think it was Houston, like he caught a dump down and there was just no one there to tackle him. So he ran for 50 yards. Like you can't give him credit for that. But yeah, he's been a I think a very pleasant surprise for Patriots fans this year.
Are you surprised to see that, Noonan? An over the projection system is calling for receiving yards, but an under for receptions?
This like running back reception stuff is so volatile. There's so often where like on paper it looks enticing, and it just so many times I'm bare. Like I just don't even consider them as bets unless they're an under at this point. It's a nice little uncorrelated. There's some books out there that like to pay you, actually fair odds or beyond fair odds for taking under 3.5 receptions and over on his yards. So you probably get a nice little multiplier on that.
I like it. What is your second round pick in the prop draft?
I'm going to kind of swim in the same pool, though I feel like Alex and we're not going against each other. I think Alex is going to lean under here, and, I like the fun stuff. I like the overs. So I'm going to stay in the same sphere. I was back and forth on playing the receiving yards or the longest, but I'm going to just take Kayshon Boutte over 17.5 for his longest reception. Obviously, we know Seattle's defense is fantastic, but we're pretending like this is some sort of combination of like the 2000 Ravens and 85 Bears. And I'm just not quite there, especially at perimeter corner. Josh Jobe and Reek Woolen, I think, are susceptible, especially to some longer explosive plays. And while they do not give up explosives at a high rate, New England has been adamant all season long. And for a matchup in terms of like coach speak, like this has been like, hey, we need to hit explosives. We need to attack explosives for us to win. I think if they don't, they get boat raced, and your 11.5 is very live. So they have to be really, really systematic in how they do it. I think you're going to get Boutte single coverage multiple times in this game, and they're going to take shots. His ADOT on the season is right here at 17.5. There were, again, per FTN data, 25 pass catchers this season who posted a deep target rate, which is 20 plus yards, of 20% or higher. Boutte is fourth at 28.3. His catch rate laps everybody. 69.2% catch rate on these targets. The next closest catch rate of this top 25 group was 47.5%. This is something that Drake May does really well. He throws into tight coverage really well. He's going to take some shots. They need to get some explosives for Boutte. He's obviously not going to get, I think, 30.5 if he doesn't get a 17.5 because he's not in a lot of low ADOT stuff. So again, he's going to avoid Devon Witherspoon, who's going to be in the slot a bunch. Again, he's going to get some nice matchups here against Josh Jobe one-on-one. So I like Boutte over 17.5.
Blickle, what do you make of some of these really low unders for receivers? We have like Bobo, 0.5 receiving yards. Like, is he going to get a catch or isn't he? And that's like juiced almost up to 2-1 right now. If you ask Cam or Cuss, they're going to tell you Bobo all day. He just doesn't play an awful lot. Austin Hooper, Elijah Arroyo. Are any of these guys intriguing to you whatsoever?
That's a good question. To be honest, I haven't looked a ton at them. I think my answer is I would lean the under on all of them, except I'm looking at Underdog right now, and the under seems to be nerfed on all of them, so they also agree. So I think it's a really hard one to say. The one that I would probably take the over on would be Arroyo at 0.5, and I would probably like the alt lines even more for him, because when he's been targeted so far this year, like a lot of it has actually been explosives. You don't really think of a backup tight end or a second tight end as an explosive play guy, but he's got a pretty solid average depth of target. So like on Underdog, for example, you can get 2.23x for over 19.5 receiving yards, or 1.58x for over 14.5. I like those a lot more than just the standard over 0.5.
If he has 3 catches, Noonan, it's almost 8-1.
Jeez. Some of those are so thin. I mean, the Bobo one in particular, the guy's just not running routes. It's the same thing with like the Travion stuff. Like, I know it's a little different, but like I understand the appeal on Travion. Like, I would look for like big plays for that. Like, Bobo's actually not even running routes. I know he caught a ball against the Rams, but otherwise he's basically not been out there for most of the year.
But the Arroyo thing is really tricky. He didn't play against the Rams, did he? He was a healthy and active, I think, for that game. So there's a chance. What's that?
Correct.
So there's a chance he doesn't even play because he had been injured. They activated him off injured reserve, and then they decided not to play him. I do think that he is going to be active for this game. And if he is active for this game, you think about all the different stuff that you can game plan for from the Patriots side. Here's a guy that you haven't seen in months who they did enjoy going to if there was a mismatch. And I feel like this would be a game where there would be a huge mismatch for him and just his giant body.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's really interesting, and he already has multiple games over 30 yards, and some of those are just because of one big chunk reception.
Yeah, we can even juice that up instead of doing if I don't get as greedy and do 3 catches, if you do 2 catches, it's like 2.5 to 1. And you can throw something like that on there. I just thought that was interesting. It was almost like Austin Hooper first touchdown in that market, where if he has a catch, you just hope it's from the 5-yard line.
Yeah, Hooper stuff I think is interesting. I'm not a big first touchdown guy, but I understand why you would go there. Seattle, we already kind of touched on. They have been a little susceptible to some of the under stuff, whether that's receiving the running backs or the tight ends. So Hooper first touchdown would be a pretty fun one.
Yeah, you can get the full Darnold. It's a bet on coolbet.com right now. If you're in Canada outside of Ontario, hit the description, go sign up at Coolbet and get your bonus along with it. Here's the full Darnold, Alex. Over 1.5 interceptions, over 1.5 touchdown passes.
That's fun. That's very fun.
8 plus 820. It's not crazy because I feel like one would lead into the other. It feels like.
I see that, right? You changes. I mean, interceptions can
speed up the
back
game.
for pick sixes. Yeah, there's for sure. I like the 2 interception 3 to 1 for Darnold. His turnover worthy play rates at like 5.5%. Again, you project for roughly around 60 plays. It means you're going to get basically 3 turnover worthy plays minimal. I'm thinking the Patriots cause a little bit more havoc there. He also has more tip balls at the line of scrimmage than any other quarterback. Those can be tipped up and intercepted. So I like that quite a bit.
Round 3 of the prop draft, the final round of the prop draft. You can get all the results in the Mayo Media newsletter, along with the best bets that we did on the show, plus all the Underdog boosts and part of Connor and part of Noonan's articles as well, talking about the props, especially the defensive props from Noonan in this game. It's funny, Noonan, because SharpStack is spitting out a defensive prop as its 3rd best value on the board. I don't think I've ever seen this before. Carlton Davis, under 4.5 tackles and assists.
Interesting. Okay.
Where are you at with it?
I don't have the projections up. I'm worried that I'll
memorize
freeze
them.
I mean, I have him. I think I think it's 4.5. I think I had him at like 4.7. I think it was slightly juiced to the over, so it would probably be an under or nothing. But I know. I wonder if that was been. I think that was a lean in the article, and I think maybe that was steamed a little bit. Maybe people played some of that under.
We can see that over. Patriots money line is now the 7th best bet on the board of any of the bets you can make, Noonan. You got to feel good about that.
Feels right. If they in the public very much on Seattle, like they are not building new hotels in Vegas for by accident. I have fade the public is the right side. So I think you're probably going to get New England money line to like 2 to 1 because I still think we see more public money in the next 72 hours or so, at least on Seattle side. So I think you can get all the way to 2 to 1 on New England money line.
I mean, it's over that in some spots right now, like plus 213, plus 212, plus 208. It's all kind of creeping up to that level.
Let's go. Yeah, I mean, 195s. Yeah, we have Scotty keep hitting balls in the water. We can add a little, Scotty in Phoenix and Pat's money line. I got a full mass hole Thor Bjornsson, Pat's money line. To just go, full on New England. Get home this weekend, have a nice fun Sunday. Eat some lobster rolls, some chowder, and watch the Pats and Thor get over the line. It'd be fun.
Alex, who are you taking as your pick in the 3rd round?
So this is the one that like I've never bet this prop type before, but I'm going with JSN to not get a reception in all 4 quarters. So I don't even like that's even a hard one to describe what I'm betting. The bet is yes or no. Does JSN get a reception in all 4 quarters? And my answer is no. And I'm not proud of this. I might be a little proud of this, but I actually went through all of the game logs this year to count how often he went over this. And the answer is he did not in 13 of the 17 games. He did in one of the 2 of the playoff games, this past one against the Rams. And that kind of shows you like what game script is required to actually get this. You need a back and forth game where both teams are getting multiple possessions in every quarter. You need a lot of pass volume throughout the game. So you need them, in a tightly contested game. And that's just not the way I see this game. Like we've already talked about this. I don't see a ton of pass volume. I don't see a ton of play volume period for Seattle. And part of the reason why he didn't go over more often in the regular season was because there were some 4th quarters where they were already so far ahead that, they were just running the ball or somewhere even backups were in. But the other reason why this type of bet fails is because you get a single quarter where they just aren't playing offense a whole lot. And the way that happens is the opponent has a sustained offensive drive, which New England can do a lot better than what most of their opponents have been able to do. So the fact that, it's more likely to be a competitive fourth quarter, I think, is canceled out by the fact that New England can actually sustain drives. And whenever teams do produce against Seattle, it usually is sustained drives because, again, they're so good at limiting explosives against them. So I really like this one. Again, I've never bet this before, but like I'm kind of estimating it at 65% or 70% probability.
What are the odds on it right now?
On Underdog, it's neutral each side, so it's like minus 122 equivalent.
I love this. I'm chucking that one on our entry right now. Jackson, Smith, and Jigba, good to go. Noonan, your final pick.
Good on Underdog for even having that, because it's a little bit, exotic, you would say. So, well, that's a great bet. Can I pause real quick? I want to get Alex's thoughts on. I've seen a couple books post most receptions in the game, and JSN minus 140 actually feels square, but probably decent. I just don't expect anyone in New England to like have a huge, and I know, Pat, you're on Diggs. I've seen some Diggs ladder stuff. I just don't see a ton of like outs for New England guys catching a ton of balls. And then obviously I don't see any competition for JSN. I don't know what you obviously probably can't price that off the top of your head, but thoughts on that?
I mean, I don't ever, bet on vibes. I like to do the math, but on the vibes, that seems really strong because just looking at the numbers, like the second highest reception prop is 4.5. JSN is at 6.5, and it's juiced to the over. So yeah, he for him to not get this, he'd have to have a worse than expected game, and someone else would have to have a considerably better than expected game, at least just in terms of receptions, right? Like Diggs might go 6 for 40, and it's not a good game, but he still has a better than expected reception count. But yeah, that minus 140 seems low. I would have guessed it was like minus 120 or minus 200.
Additionally, I think if you're going to fade that market, Noonan, you just find the Seahawk. I mean, Cooper Kupp is the very logical answer to this question if it's not JSN, I think.
Yeah, no, that's a good call out. Yeah, I just saw it this morning just before, so I haven't been able to kind of look at our numbers or kind of try to run any math on it at all, but it seems, like Alex said, vibes, just, looking at it going, that seems more than fair and more than what I would expect it to be. So
I will take the Diggs over 4.5 receptions as my third round pick in this draft. Just again, they're going to be sitting back, and Diggs is going to find these soft pockets in the zone. I think it's actually fun to go Diggs over 4.5 receptions, but even try to parlay it together, Alex, with your under 17.5 longest reception. Because I think that's why he gets the over the 4.5, because they're all like 6-yard catches.
Yeah, and I'm guessing that you're going to get the same kind of boosted payout there where, they view that as inverse correlation. Yeah. Even though it seems like there's at least a very clear path for it to being positively correlated.
When you catch 5 for 17 against Denver, I mean, you could see that again for sure. So, all right, last for me, I don't have a huge write-up on it or thoughts to share. It's super square. It is nowhere near as fun and as exotic as Alex's bet. I just don't see a path where this doesn't happen. I think it's an overreaction to recency bias for Patriots playing some really difficult teams in the playoffs and Seattle's defense being great. But give me Drake May over 220.5 passing yards. There's no path that the Patriots have a chance in this game if Drake May isn't pushing 240, 250. I'm not worried about the shoulder at all. I think he's going to have to get it done through explosives. So I've seen a lot of people talk about over on attempts, over on completions. That worries me a little bit because that goes into not only a sustained drive, but probably multiple sustained drives. And that's just, I don't think, a great recipe for New England here. I think they're going to have to win by hitting on some of these deep plays. So I also think his over longest at like 32.5, 33.5 is also very viable. But I think we see New England skew very pass heavy. I think that's their best path here. And Drake has to hit some home runs. So over 220.5.
Over 220.5. It is 222.5 at Underdog right now.
We're fine.
We're gonna have to roll with that one. Sorry about that. You're losing 2.5 yards of value here of it. So
if we get skunked on the 2 yards, we have bigger fish to fry.
So this is what I've cobbled together for us as an underdog entry or a same game parlay if people want to put it together. It's a reasonable one. It feels like it could hit. It's not 86 legs. It's 4 legs. Diggs under 16.5 longest reception. JSN 1+ reception in each quarter. No on that front. Cooper Kupp over 33.5 receiving yards. Drake May over 222.5 passing yards. I put on a 50% boost on it to get it to 17.5 to 1. Not bad.
4 legs. It's not bad.
Blickle, you do a lot of work into what the proper amounts for like the most EV on Underdog Pick'em entries is. I think some of it can be game dependent, especially if there's only one game to go. But have you found it's 3 and 5 on Underdog?
No, 3 and 6. 3 pick standard or 6 pick flex. Those are so like you're always balancing what's the expected value of the play with the probability of it hitting. And I think one easy way to look at it is just what's the implied probability of the pick. And so if you're doing a 2 pick play, for example, on Underdog, your implied probability of each individual pick is 58%. Immediately that drops all the way down to 55% if you go to the 3 pick standard. And then you get it all the way down to 53.8% with the 6 pick flex play.
So you're just slightly tweaking everything into your advantage.
Exactly. And I have a cousin who loves this stuff, and he's very like admittedly not much of a math guy. And so I was actually just having this conversation with him a few weeks ago where like it feels like, the difference between 5 to 1 or 6 to 1. 5 to 1 used to be the 3 pick payout over on Prize Picks. And he would always say like, well, if I win, then I'm going to be happy whether I get 5 or 6x regardless. And if I lose, I'm making $0 anyway. So what does it actually matter? And I was like, well, okay, but if you win, let's say 57% of your picks throughout the season, you're going to lose hundreds, thousands of dollars on Prize Picks. You're going to make hundreds of thousands of dollars depending on what your entry fees are on Underdog throughout the year, just because of that difference. And so these very small differences in implied probability in a short term, like they do seem meaningless, and they kind of are meaningless. But when you zoom out and you look at how you did for the entire season, they matter quite a bit.
I got some fun exotics here for you I want to run by. These are all at coolbet.com. So again, you're in Canada, outside of Ontario, no reason not to be on Coolbet. Go sign up right now. Hit the link in the description. I got 3 of them for you. Which one of these do you like best? Number 1, Noonan, I'll go to you first. First half total points, -200 versus Canada and USA combined gold medals in the Olympics.
So I've not been grinding the Winter Olympics the way that you have. I would think that US and Canada are probably, I would expect it to be probably top 5 in medal counts. So
but
I
gold
don't have
medals.
I don't have my finger on the pulse of that one, Pat. I'm sorry.
Blickle?
I was just about to say, I'm glad you didn't ask me that one, but then you did ask me because I'm the same way. Like I might as well just flip a coin here.
Well, what do you think that the first half total is? Because it's at -200 versus that right now.
Well, let's see. So I said 20 to 13. So give me 16.5.
It's 16.5. Can they combine? Yeah, probably not. Right now, the United States is 16% to have the most gold medals. Canada is 3% to have the most gold medals. So that would probably end up being over. Or if they just score a bunch of points in the first half of the game, you're obviously good to go. But I think I would lean on the medal side of that one, just in case there's not a whole lot of scoring. Because we've seen that in Super Bowls, haven't we, where it's just a bit flat coming out of the gate?
Yeah, and I will say, like, I think there's probably more variance in what the first half score is going to be than the medals won, even though I don't know what the projection for medals won is. But I would think that there's less variance there since so many of those are kind of foregone conclusions.
I will say this, just to back to the game. If you get outside and Seattle gets off to a slow start and doesn't take advantage of their scripted plays, their first 15, New England is by far the best defense via EPA and success rate outside the scripted play threshold. So they're, you can get them early, but they are a fantastic adjustment team defensively. So if Seattle doesn't strike early, that I think very much increases the likelihood that New England is very, very live. And this is much more competitive than the public seems to think.
I'll give you the last one because this one falls all in of our wheelhouse here. Scotty Scheffler, round 4 birdies, -115 versus total touchdowns in the game. Now, there is an out to this that Scheffler could miss the cut if you bet it right now.
Yeah.
So what do you think at 5.5, 6.5 birdies?
Yeah, probably.
At least. I think you got to go Scotty Birdies there.
I think Scotty Birdies is like a layup here, unless it's the highest scoring Super Bowl of all time.
What are the odds there?
Minus 115.
Oh, yeah, Scotty Birdies.
Yeah.
There's the best bet right there. Scotty Scheffler, round 4 birdies at coolbet.com versus the total touchdowns in the Super Bowl. We're projecting probably, a minimum of 5 for Scheffler, and he might have 9?
Yeah, I mean, there's no projected wind. They want fireworks on Sunday. He's going to make birdies. As long as he makes the cut. And he's Scotty, so he should.
Yes. At the time that we're recording this, he may or may not make it. I think he makes what? What's his made cut percentage, Blickle? Like 98%?
It's extremely high.
So there we go. Ryan Noonan, tell everyone where they can find you, your work, and what else you're up to for Super Bowl week.
We'll cross promote because I know the Mayo audience also likes golf. So betspertsgolf.com. Football side, 4for4 bets. Move the Line podcast. We'll have our prop show on Thursday afternoon. You can find that. Again, Move the Line wherever you listen to podcasts, or 4for4 live on the YouTube channel. Appreciate it as always, my friend.
Alex, tell everyone about you and the Blickle Discord. The Blick Dis.
FTNfantasy.com. And you can also check out my Discord. You find me on Twitter at Alex Blickle1. You can find links to both. And I want to say real quick, I think what Connor and Noonan do with the tackle props is spectacular. And it's a really good lesson for anyone out there who's just trying to get better and get more consistent betting props, is to really hone in on one type of prop type. And so that's something that I do a lot in my Discord in NBA, is looking at free throws. And then in NFL, one of the bets that I would have given out here on the show if it hadn't moved already this week was completion percentage. We hit something like 68% of our completion percentage bets in the second half of the season. Unfortunately, I only found completion percentage bets in week 14. So I wasn't able to take advantage of that all season, but you can find specific prop types where there's really, really an advantage. You can just hammer that advantage, and I think you'll get much more consistent results there than if you overwhelm yourself with the entire board every single time, you sit down to make some picks.
That will do it for me. Code Mayo10 at SharpStack to get SharpStack for the month. Getting those draws I talked about. Sub to the channel, sub to the newsletter, and rate and review on Apple and Spotify. That would be very helpful. Let's try to, you know what? I don't even want to try. Let's win some money at the Super Bowl. All right? I'm Pat Mayo. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!